Alec Murdaugh's best friend testified against him in his double murder trial today, detailing how the disgraced Low Country attorney stole nearly $200,000 from him and also betrayed his trust.
Nick Neville is joining us from the courthouse in Colleton County. So, Nick, walk us through some of the testimony revealed today.
Yes, John D. and Judy. So this is a key witness for prosecutors who argue that Alec Murdaugh was essentially living a double life of thievery, and to avoid that being exposed, he murdered his wife and son. Chris Wilson, Alec's former law school roommate whom he spoke with every day, says he never suspected a thing. And when Alec finally confessed to him about an opioid addiction and about stealing money from both clients and the law firm for years, he says it hit him like a ton of bricks. In early 2021, after the pair won a personal injury case, Alec Murdaugh asked his friend Chris Wilson for his $792,000 share of the attorney's fees to be deposited directly into Alec's account, instead of to his law firm. Wilson said this was unusual, but didn't raise any red flags.
He was, one of the biggest dogs in that firm, one of the biggest producers they had. Seemed to own a lot of things, do a lot of things, spend money. And I trusted him because I knew him and had dealt with him personally and professionally for a long time.
Shortly after the murders of Maggie and Paul, Alex sent Wilson back a portion of the money, saying he'd messed up the fee structure. But Wilson only received $600,000 of the funds. He loaned Alec the remaining $192,000 and still hasn't been paid back. When he confronted Alec about the missing fees in September of 2021 and learned he had been stealing money for years, he couldn't believe what he was hearing.
Didn't know it, never saw it, never suspected it, drugs or money. Shocked, betrayed, mad, I don't know, numb.
Later, the defense sought to block the testimony of Tony Satterfield, the late Murdaugh housekeeper's son, another alleged victim of Alec's stealing.
This is a murder trial, not a financial fraud trial.
Judge Clifton Newman objected, and upon taking the stand, Satterfield testified that Alec pocketed a multi-million-dollar insurance settlement owed to the family after his mother's death.
Have you come to find out that the defendant took all of your money?
Yes.
And that's what led to that confession of judgment?
Yes.
Did he, though, ever pay you 1 cent?
No.
Of Wilson, the defense established that Alec Murdaugh did not sound panicky when he talked with Wilson over the phone on the night of the murders, and they also sought to paint Alec as a loving family man who was emotionally destroyed after the murders of his wife and son. Now, our Greg Adeline is standing by with more on Satterfield's testimony and really what this all means.
And Nick, you touched on that, but let's just say that his testimony was certainly emotional at times. This was the son of the late housekeeper for Alec Murdaugh, Gloria Satterfield. She died in 2018 in a trip and fall accident at Moselle. And he took the stand today to talk about some of his interactions with Alec Murdaugh after that day, saying that Alec Murdaugh acted as his attorney and had promised him and his brother about $505,000, which he said was a part of his homeowner's insurance policy. He said that he'd be happy to file the claim against his homeowner's insurance, that being Alec Murdaugh. Now, according to Satterfield, Murdaugh promised to get the surviving sons, one of whom is disabled, at least $100,000 out of that, and also to cover some of Mom's medical bills, which Tony said sounded good. Alec also told him, Satterfield testifying, to send him any paperwork. But the problem was those policies were, in fact, for $5 million. And when that policy paid out for $4.3 million, Murdaugh kept all that money, and Tony and his disabled brother did not get a dime. Murdaugh has since admitted to stealing that $4.3 million, but here's the key. Some of this was said in a in-camera hearing a couple of days ago, but now the jury knows it. You heard some of that back and forth between the attorneys as to whether or not Satterfield would be able to testify. They have heard about this scheme, and we want to play a little more of that questioning that the defense did not want the jury to hear, safe to say, about Alec Murdaugh icing out a grieving family.
Read that text to the jury once you sent.
That text says, "Hey man, I'm doing good. By the way, how's the case going? Just curious. But how are you?"
I'll show you this next text. Do you recognize that?
Yes,
And who is that from?
that is from Alex to me.
All right. And can you read that to the jury?
Finally getting some movement, still a ways to go, doing good, was just thinking about and thought I'd check in. Hope to see you soon.
Still a ways to go is what he said?
Yes.
And Satterfield testifying that he knew very little from Alec Murdaugh in the run-up to that big payout, that $1 million payout being given in that case. Now, also important to note that there are other financial witnesses testifying, including the CEO from Palmetto State Bank, who describes a lot of, well, let's just say, very good treatment that Alec Murdaugh got at that bank in 2021. Treatment that, let's face it, you and I would probably never receive in terms of some of the loans that he got and some of the overdrafts that were described by the CEO that were covered by then the CEO, Russell Lafitte, who has since been convicted in a separate case. And then right now, Mark Tinsley is taking the stand in some testimony that will prove very important to the prosecution as well. Mark Tinsley, the lawyer for the estate of Mallory Beach. You'll remember that hearing on June 10th, 2021 would have likely opened up Alec Murdaugh's books. And that was something that prosecutors say Alec Murdaugh did not want to happen. And so they say he would do anything to keep that from once again coming into the spotlight. We'll have what Mark Tinsley says on that stand coming up for you on your news at 6. But for now, we're live in Walterboro. Greg Adeline, WIS News 10.
All right, Greg, thank you very much. And to keep up with the latest on the trial, go to WISTV.com, where we are streaming the trial every day from beginning to end. You can also watch it on our streaming platforms on Roku, Fire TV, and our YouTube channel as well.